I am pleased to introduce to you Cara O'Hare. She is our Accelerator and Incubator Operations Manager. She's also a certified project management professional with more than 8 years of experience working with startups and new entrepreneurs as they articulate their business model design and define their customer segments. Cara is completely well-versed in the business model canvas, which when you look at it can be pretty intimidating, but Cara is going to break it down for you. So welcome, Cara.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. All right, so before we get started, are you familiar at all with the business model canvas? Have you seen it? Have you used it? Yeah. Zoe, what's your involvement? How much have you used it?
I approached the school.
Oh, that's the best part about the business model canvas. You can do it any way you want. There's really no wrong way. The key thing is it's a tool that helps you pivot. And so we'll talk about it. And so I like to put this quote up by Mary Kay. Ideas are a dime a dozen, but people who implement them are priceless. And I like to stop and think, what stops us from implementing, right? We all can come up with ideas and we love a good brainstorming session. And maybe we've got that crazy uncle at Thanksgiving who tells us about all of his ideas that if only one day would become a startup or become a company. And it's really interesting to think about what hinders us, what stops us from actually making it happen. And I like to think that it's all about uncertainty. So this graph is a graph by Strategizer, who also designed the business model canvas. And it says that as we reduce uncertainty, we create value. So how do we do that? The key thing about uncertainty is quantifying it, identifying it, putting a spotlight on all the things that we are guessing so that we can determine a plan of action for knocking out all of those things that we're uncertain about, so that we can start to then create value because we now know our action plan going forward. So we're going to use the business model canvas as a roadmap tool for identifying, targeting, and then tackling all of our uncertainty and then creating value. So business model canvas, you have a copy of it in front of you. And for people who are online, if you would take a look at the business model canvas online by Strategizer, there's a bunch of different versions because it's actually a copy left, which is like everybody's allowed to use it, which is really fantastic. And it's a really great tool. So if you would look up the business model canvas, if the slides here are not clear, but we'll dive into each of the components of the business model canvas and really get into the meat of it. The key thing is that this is a workshop. So be thinking about how you're going to be filling in your canvas. Anybody who's online that doesn't have a canvas, just start to write notes about what you would put in each of your boxes. Thank you, Maggie. All right, so here's our 9 key building blocks. A lot of people will do this and teach this differently. And so I like to break this apart by your front stage and your backstage, right? So we all have been to a show or a play, or maybe we've seen something, and everything that you see in green is your front stage. That's what we as the audience members see. We know who the characters are. We can see the backdrop. We know how the stage is set. And everything that's in the back is the costume designers and the makeup artists, all the people who are supporting the front stage activity. A big mistake that I have seen is a lot of companies will see the front stage of a business, maybe some big business like Tesla, and they will completely neglect the backstage because they've never seen it before. So the key thing is you can start with your front stage because you can talk about what you want to be on the stage. You can talk about how you want it to land with your audience members. But just remember that this is only the front stage, and the backstage is going to be all of our support characters. So your customer segments. You don't have to be right the first time. You never really have to be right until you're about to sell, and then you're probably wrong, and then you got to figure it out again. And that's okay. The whole purpose of the business model canvas is to pivot, to brainstorm, to just lay it all out there. Really, the purpose is to get away from those 30-page business models and business plans and just create something on a single sheet where you can point to each of the different elements and say, that doesn't look right. I'm going to just take it right off. And it gives you that flexibility to pivot. So customer segments, a key thing to think about when you're doing your customer segments is not just a single person, but a group of people. What do these people all have in common? right? So maybe I'm selling solar panels and maybe I'm trying to reach homeowners. Okay, but really, what am I going to be doing? Am I going to be knocking on all the doors and saying, do you rent or are you a homeowner? And people do this, and that's not scalable. So if you want to think about scalability, think about your B2B, right? Think about what sort of business or association or group you can work with in order to tap into a bigger network. So in the case of maybe homeowners and you're looking for homeowners, maybe homeowners associations or there's like public lists and stuff that you can find. So you want to start and try to be very specific about what you're after. So for whom are we creating value? Is it a mass market, niche market, segmented market? And what do these people all have in common? That's the key thing. My favorite way to think about your customers is who cares more about the problem that you're solving? Who cares more than you do, right? You obviously care because you're starting a whole business around solving this problem, but there's going to be someone who they ache to have this problem solved. It's a part of their job. They're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their house. It's some achy pain, and that's the person you want. And that also you want to think about the group that they all belong to, that they all have in common. Now the value proposition. There's a lot of different definitions of the value proposition, but just to be simple here, what is the thing of value that you're providing to your customers? And we're going to break this apart. So not just the features, but you know, the actual different types of product clusters. So like you have maybe different bundles for different customers. So what bundles or products or services are we offering to each customer segment? Because remember, not one product is an all size fits all for all of your customer segments. So a great way to think about when you do the value proposition box is create like a bulleted list here of maybe my features here or the thing I think I bring of value, and then try to draw a line between them. Now you may have multiple lines crossing and that's okay. But you just want to make sure that you haven't put something on your value proposition box that doesn't have a direct customer who has expressed a need based on a really real problem that they have. So that's what's really important. A lot of people will do one of two things. They'll build a feature that nobody wants, and so they'll have an item on here that doesn't actually line up, or they'll have a customer segment, which is interesting, that doesn't actually line up with their product. Because I really want to help them and I really believe that I can bring value to them, but maybe your product doesn't actually help them. And that's okay. So, you know, that means you've got to either pivot your value proposition or you've got to pivot your customer segment. And it's all just about fine tuning, really. Customer relationships. So what keeps your customers coming back? Think about, you know, a single coffee shop that is just a no-name coffee shop that's on your way on a road trip versus a Starbucks, right? So if you do their stars and their loyalty program, you might pick the Starbucks because you want to use your stars, because someone gave you a gift card at Christmas. That's the type of relationship tool that people will use. And you'll notice some of the smaller shops will have punch cards, and this is their version of it. And so you can think about something that's a low cost way of keeping your customers coming back. What is that thing that forms a relationship with them so that it's not just a one-off engagement? Channels. So there are two major types of channels. There's your marketing, social, and then there's the actual physical distribution channel. So when you go in and you put your bullet points in, those are separate things. And the key thing too is when you're filling out your business model canvas, there's no sentences in here. It's all bullet lists because we're going to strike things, and sentences end up having multiple items in them. And it actually gets really hard to start to break that apart. So it's really important to be flexible. All right, backstage. So these are our people behind the curtain. These are the ones that are supporting everything that's on the front stage. And so you do not want to have a person who's backstage who doesn't have a job. I know that sounds really funny, but some people will put people in their key partners list because they're friends and their family and they want to be engaged and they want the optics of a key partner. It will not serve you. It will make it harder for you to pivot and flex what your business is going to be. So just make sure that, just like with all of the boxes, if there is a key partner here, they are either helping you develop your value proposition or they're helping you with a relationship to a customer. They may also help you with your relationships or your channels, but really these are the two key boxes. So just make sure that everybody is connected. And if you don't, then this is a place where you want to put a question mark and you want to say, okay, I don't have them. Another really great distinction between a key partner and really anyone else, partners don't pay each other, they help each other get paid. All right, so partners don't pay each other, they help each other get paid. These are people who are not actually exchanging money. They may be sharing resources in order to target their bigger customer or bigger market, but they are not exchanging goods and exchanging money. So that's really, really important. And we'll get to the person that you are paying is going to go in a different box. So key activities, I like to put it short, is your to-do list. These are just of everything that we've been doing, make a list, right? What are the key things that we need to do? But again, nothing goes in here that hasn't been identified in previous boxes. It can be really easy to go, like, to get crazy with it. But if you're adding items here that were not previously addressed, either take them off the list or go back and add to previous boxes. Key resources is your wish list. Now, this is where you put the items that have a price tag. This is where you put your graphic designer and your website developer. This is the things you're actually going to spend money on. Cost structure. Now, you do not have to get crazy with financials in here. It's just things that are going to cost you money. And usually your key resources box and your cost structure box are very same, very similar. So just everything that had a price tag in the previous, so you can be specific here and you can say, well, this part of my value proposition costs money, or you know, this access to my customer segment, maybe I'm purchasing lists or something, or I'm trying to gain access to an association to do a trade show. Those are all things that might be a part of your cost structure, maybe under marketing or customer development. Revenue streams is the same. These are just items, different ways that money is going to come in. So are you going to have a one-time sale? Are you going to have a subscription? Are you going to have any other sort of fixed or negotiated costs? Are you going to have contracts? What size of contracts? What size of customer? So these are just items to think about while you're planning. And I know this is kind of overwhelming, but this is just the notes from previous, so that you have that for our exercise. Do we have any questions before we move on? Yes.
So
Zoe was asking if suppliers are partners. And that's a great question, because suppliers, you do pay them, and they are helping you access your customer segment, but they would probably be more of a key resources because you are paying them. But it's a fine line. It's a fine line. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah. The question is, what's the name of this bottom box here, which is your revenue streams. And you know, generally, you just want to make sure that you have less items in your cost structure and more items in your revenue. So, you know, so altogether, really, this is it makes for a very well-organized play and performance, because you've thought now about everything that's on the back end. So I'd like to walk us through an exercise. And this is numbers that I put up, but we don't have to use that. We could probably just keep this up because I think this is more informative. But here's the exercise. So I would like you to fill out your canvas. And if you don't have a canvas, that's fine. Just specific, just write it down on a notepad. And I want you to use bullet points. Ideally, we would all have sticky notes and we would just throw them on the ground when we were done with them. And we said, okay, that's no longer a value on my business model. Everything that's a separate idea or concept is its own bullet, which is really important. I find that a lot of the time we combine the problem and the solution. When someone asks you what problem you solve, they end up turning it into a pitch. And so just be really careful that you're just one bullet, one specific thing of value, customer segment, partner, channel, all those things. They are all separate, and yet they all talk to each other, and they're all in the same show, and they all have the same type of job that they're trying to support, which is your business. So right, no orphan items. Nothing stands on its own. All right, so we're going to do an exercise.
Okay, and so the ask is that everybody is going to try to fill this out for their business.
Yes.
How much time do they have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, so yes, we have 10 minutes. And while you time that, Maggie, I will just leave this up so you can click through, you can read through it. I know we want to tell the story when we're talking about our businesses and we want to tell the story in the box. But try to distill it down into the bullet points, right? So what are all of the things that we have of value? Maybe we have the product itself, maybe we have the underlying features, and there's going to be different value for different customers, and that's okay. The biggest challenge is working on your front stage and breaking that apart and really getting down into the nitty-gritty. I mean, this is your business. This is something that you have a lot of passion to see build and grow and succeed. And so we know its story. We look at it as an infant idea and it's growing into something completely different. And so it's really hard to just peel those layers back and talk about the specific items. But I'm going to encourage you to think about every single item of value, and then separate from that, who finds value in just that one thing. And the goal is that you're going to have a different customer segment or a different group of people who are interested in your different features. What we want to do is think about a microscope. We want to zoom in and start to identify all of this complexity to our business models. All of our ideas have been wrapped up. It's just really get in there and identify all of this complexity. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start to prune it back, and we're going to say, all right, these are the things I can really work on right now. So we're not discarding anything. We're not saying something isn't of value, but we're definitely diving in a little bit more and understanding it more than we have before, which can be a little painful and weird, but it's okay. And for any nonprofits here, I would encourage you to look up the mission model canvas, which is a variant of the business model canvas, also by StartUpNV. Really fantastic tool. And if you feel like you really want to get into this a little bit more, the lean canvas is also a tool to look into. How did we feel about that exercise? Good? Right? If anybody is confident or interested, and you can stick this in the chat too if you don't want to unmute yourself, I would love to see an ad lib of your business model. Basically fill in the blank based on everything that we just created. And if you didn't finish it, that's okay. We'll just say blank when we get to it. That's fine. I'm sorry I didn't type this up for you guys in the chat, but if you can see this okay. But ideally, we're going to go through and we're just going to say a sentence, this is my business. The reason that we have the ad lib is because it can be so difficult to tell people what it is that you're working on. Again, when we're thinking about the complexity, what's the first thing I should tell you? What's the most important thing? And if we haven't developed our elevator pitch yet, this is actually a really great first step for determining how you're going to convey your business to people. So my product or service provides value to customer segment by, you can give a very short description here. In order to deliver value to our customers, we have partnered with key partners who help us achieve key activities, which is product development or access to customers. We expect to spend money on, there's your costs, and we plan to make money by revenue streams. So really, really simple. And this is where your bullet points will come in handy, because just give me one bullet point.
David Navarro is asking for more clarity because he's never done a business plan or a business model before. And how would you tell him to approach it?
We'll definitely start with each of the elements in your business model canvas. And really the thing here is that none of these things are set in stone. Remember, we're doing an uncertainty reducing exercise. So the idea is everything up here is an assumption, everything up here is a hypothesis, everything is a guess. And even if we've already had these conversations with our customers, right now, I just want you to tell me your dream business. So put up here just everything that, I would love to work with these customers. I would love to have this thing of value. I think that these guys would be the best key partners to help us build this value or establish a relationship with the customer. Everything is a guess, everything is an assumption. And to reduce that uncertainty and to create that value, we first need to put a spotlight on all of the uncertainty, everything that is a guess. And we're going to go through each of these items and we're going to systematically say, okay, this has been validated. Okay, this is not true any longer. This no longer fits in my market. This no longer fits for my product and my business model. So everything on here is just a bullet list. And if you don't have a business yet, this is your wish list. These are things that you would like to have. I can start talking a little bit about why we're doing this. So everything is a hypothesis that is to be tested. Everything can only be tested by talking to another human being. We might be able to determine some things online, market size, market growth, but you're doing something that nobody has ever done before. So you're going to need to talk to people to see, is it actually solving a problem? What value is it actually providing in their own words? And you get them to verify, yes, this is something that I would use, I would buy, and it solves the biggest need for me. So here's our ad lib again. My product or service provides value to customer segment by very short description. In order to deliver value to our customers, we have partnered with key partners who help us achieve key activities, product development, and or access to customers. We expect to spend money on costs, right? Maybe product development, my website, things like that. And we plan to make money by revenue streams, subscription, one-time sales, mass contracts. And this is a dream world. If you haven't created anything yet, that's okay.
So Cara, I'll just give it a whirl for StartUpNV. So my nonprofit provides value to both entrepreneurs and investors by giving away a lot of education to the entrepreneurs and giving investors an opportunity to invest in Nevada-based companies. In order to deliver value to our customers, we have partnered with local economic development agencies and state agencies, and they help us achieve scope of reaching the whole state, and they enable us to put on these educational programs. And we expect to spend money on personnel mostly, and some printing, and plan to make money by writing a lot of grants until such time as the companies that make it into our accelerator are able to make their 1% pledges into real money.
Yay, that was perfect. That was great. And as a nonprofit, that was very clearly explained, because even nonprofits, I know that the tax structure is different, the revenue structure is different, and yet we can still tell the story of any business. Maybe something's a little different if I'm a nonprofit, such as how I'm going to get money or things that are going to cost me money, my costs, my expenses. But it's still a business, and we are still providing value to somebody. And we know that we are providing value by feedback, purchases, attendance, things like that. How do we feel about the ad lib? You want to do it? Yeah.
Hi, this is Zoe speaking. This is all a bit of a mess because I keep thinking of extra things to put in and then think I should probably take them out. And it illustrates to me how complicated I've made my business proposition. So this is the most simple I've ever got. My art and artware provides value to art lovers and collectors by making them feel and look good about and feel great about what they collect and wear. In order to deliver value to our customers, we have partnered with galleries who help us achieve sales and access to customers. We expect to spend money on a digital printer and plan to make money by selling art, prints, and artware.
Great, great, well done. Now it's important to know that maybe we have multiple customer segments and different customer products. And so the business model canvas can be done multiple times. The ad lib can be done in different ways. And you know, that's the flexibility of it. You can have multiple business model canvases. I would have blown these up. I mean, I had them huge and just hanging around, and you get sticky notes and you put all of your ideas up on sticky notes. You can get really into it and color code them. And, you know, this particular value is purple, but you know, it goes to my purple customers. You can get really into it because there are complexities to it. But the key thing with the business model canvas is that we can make it really simple. And that was a really great articulation of your business. And so for variants of that and additional customer segments and additional products, do the ad lib for those too.
Yeah, thank you.
Zoe, though, it made me think of a question. Are you not working with artists, or are you the artist?
Hi, is it Maggie?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm the artist, but I'm also the technologist. So I'm using my art to showcase some tech. But at the moment, I just love doing it. And I think the best way to tell a story is to have phenomenal things to look at.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. Everything up until now is a hypothesis. It's an identification of assumptions, things that we are guessing. And everything starts with a guess. I'm guessing and assuming that this particular customer segment is interested in my value. I'm guessing that these people are going to help me with building my product or building my relationship to my customers. I'm guessing all of this stuff. So the key thing is to start testing. So everything we have created is a hypothesis. So try to tell a story. Go through and create a scratch paper where you go through and you identify, make a hypothesis, right? So I have maybe just listed 5 items under my value. So I'm assuming that this customer segment is interested in this value. That's a sentence. So just go through, and we're not going to do this in this session because it's really a long time-consuming thing. Sit, grab some tea, and go through it and just really know what you're doing. Take your time with it. It's actually pretty fun when you start to identify all the things that you're assuming and then you're guessing. So everything is a hypothesis. Make a list of hypotheses. And then I want you to make a separate list, and I want you to say how you're going to test each hypothesis. Maybe I need to go and talk to this association. Maybe I need to go and have a conversation with my key partners and see if they're actually going to support me in the way that I think they will. Maybe I need to do a little bit more problem discovery and understanding if this is really the problem that matters, or if I dig in a little bit more, is there a bigger, deeper problem that, oh, I would love to solve that. Yeah, I'm into that. Let's do that. So really, this is a very creative process. It cannot be done alone. And you have to get out of the building in order to do this. So it's great. We put everything on paper, but you will only progress when you talk to other people and you get out of the building and you really start to get their input on your business model. And then we adjust and we pivot. Think about your business model too, as like, this is your first draft. And then after all the hard work you put into it, in previous sessions, I've had people stand up and rip it in half. Because I want you to know that you're not stuck to it. It's something that is meant to change. And this is version 1. All right, this is great exercise. Let's do it again. And you just keep doing it. I've gotten a lot nicer, so I don't do that. Shay is saying that her business model is very simple and very targeted, and that is fantastic. And definitely doing a business model canvas helps us know that. And it can also give us an opportunity to say, do we want to expand it and make it bigger? Do we want to have a line that maybe serves, a line of products that maybe serve the same type of customers? And so, thinking about variants of that, or not, that's okay too.
Raising money for donors. It's the whole nonprofit fundraising that I think I want to start small and then build it, because I have people who are very excited about it, but I don't have any of this ready yet. I'm just taking my time to get it all together, but I will need donors for sure. So it's.
Yeah, absolutely. This can be, used in terms of scaling too, right? So just making sure that you have the structure set up so that when you're moving forward, you just make it bigger, but you bring on more people who are going to support you as that scales. And so really this is just about identifying where the walls are in your business and saying, okay, these are the hard things. These are the squishy things. This is what we've got room to play with. And this is where I want to go in 5 years. This is how we're going to start to plan it. So again, it's all about identifying our uncertainty and creating an action plan for targeting and moving that uncertainty to a known. And it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. You may have a customer interview and they are completely not interested. And that is the best thing because that is like an avenue you now know is closed. And that's something that we have now learned. And that is no longer an uncertain fact. We know what it is. We move on. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what this is all about. We need to get comfortable with it. We need to get flexible with it. And just like we put it out there, we talk to people and we move on and we change it. Now, the thing that I always get next is how do I talk to customers? Who do I talk to? Where do I find them? You know, I talk to people and they're not interested in buying it. And that's all really common. And I didn't put it in this deck, but I'll explain it. There are two types of questions that people ask. There are these kind of yes, no type of questions, these closed questions that we ask. And they tend to look a lot like, you know, the conversation as a whole is, this is me, this is my product, this is what I'm doing, this is my mission. What do you think? And the answer is like, yeah, I'm here to support you, or I don't think I would buy it. That doesn't really give you anything, right? We want collaborative discussions. We want to talk about the thing that really matters here, which is not your product. It is the problem. It is the thing that you believe you can solve. Talk to people about the problem. Verify that it's really a problem for them. And if it's not, they're not your customer because they're not going to buy something that doesn't solve a problem for them. It's doing something for them. So when you find people to talk to, think about people who care more about the problem than you do, are around people who care more about the problem than you do, who have a mission to solve this problem. It's really a true need for them. I have a conversation that is just like a complaining conversation. Just like, tell me everything that sucks. You know, tell me why this is terrible. Why does it matter to you? That's what you want to be collecting. And you want to start building your business model around these facts that people give you. So we've used the business model canvas to identify different types of things that we're assuming and guessing about our business model. We are making a list of hypotheses out of this information to test. We are only testing these things by talking to people. We're not doing any Google searches. And then we're going to go back through and we're going to cross out things on our business model canvas that we have gone through and we have tested. We're going to create a new canvas that is a little bit closer to the truth now based on the feedback that we've received. And we've added more stuff because people that you've been talking to have been really excited and inspired. And so now you're very excited and you're inspired and maybe you want to add more to your business model canvas. And so now you've got version 2. All right, and that concludes it. Do we have any questions?
Show us one of the first slides that has the more questions you ask, the less uncertainty you have.
Oh,
One of the first slides, that one.
Yeah, I love this slide because so if you look at it, everything here is question marks and it's all untested assumptions. Even if you think it's tested and it's verified, unless someone told you that's what they want, consider it untested just for the sake of the exercise. And we reduce uncertainty and we get to value. I really love this. I really love this scribble. I know it's super simple, but it's so real. When you're in the startup world and you're just like, oh, we could do this and all of these awesome things and I love it. That is this kind of chaos right here. And then we start to figure out, okay, there's a pattern and there are people who are interested. These are things I want to do, problems I want to solve, things I want to make. and it gets us better to a point of value and certainty. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming.